Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash. I have to talk about this book today because this was such a delightful book. This book was first published mid-January of this year, so 2026. It was a novel debut, which is hard for me to believe because, the book was incredible. The writing style, the voice, the storytelling, the character portraits, just fantastic. 3 words to describe this book: hilarious, smart, delightful. It is a literary fiction with some dark humor mixed in, so if that's your thing, definitely consider picking this up. It had some really fun, playful writing mechanics that I'll talk a little bit about. I'm going to keep this video non-spoilery though, so no worries me giving away any plot points. The gist of the novel is it is a family drama. It follows the Flynn family, and there's 5 of them. So there's 3 daughters, the youngest being Harper. She's 12 years old. There's the middle daughter, Louise, who's kind of like the forgotten child, very shy, very inner. Louise has a secret internet relationship with someone who is probably not a good person. And then there's the eldest, Abigail, who is 17. I think she's about to turn 18. And her thing is she's dating this guy who's ex-military in his 20s. And then Harper is just this very precocious, nosy child who believes at her core that there is some kind of weird surveillance going on in their town. And they live in this small East Coast town where church is at the center of the community. And there's also this mysterious billionaire shipping magnate who pretty much owns everything in town and is where all of the workers have their jobs, that sort of thing. Different interesting elements there. In addition to the 3 daughters, there are their parents, Catherine and Bud. And I won't lie to you, when you begin reading this book, you are not going to like most of the main characters. They're super flawed. Their choices are very poor and selfish, I would say. But like I said, this is a hilarious book. There's some absurdist stuff in there. The fact that it's like a family drama, it feels very much like reading a Wes Anderson novel. The Royal Tenenbaums, if you like films like those, this is going to be your jam. But for a taste of the writing style, I'm going to read the first page to try and convince you to read this book. The dialogue is nonstop in my head. Taking a deep breath and just trying to read as fast as possible is how it goes in my head. The gnat situation in the church was getting out of hand. It was Miss Winkle's fault. She had brought the gnats, and this was unforgivable, not in the eyes of God, but those of Father Andrew, who was unable to exterminate the gnats, not for lack of trying. He'd employed every trap spray and swatter on the modern market, and yet his efforts had little effect on the greater gnat population. If anything, it was growing. Father Andrew imagined that soon the gnats might attract a larger pest. Gnat-eating spiders, perhaps, which might attract, say, frogs, which might attract rats, which might attract cats, which might attract coyotes, which might attract a larger coyote-eating mammal, and so on and so forth. It was Miss Winkle's fault because Miss Winkle had brought the plant to the church. Like God did on the 3rd day, Miss Winkle attended every church function with her brain-damaged child who wore gun-range earmuffs to mass. The organ startled her, and occasionally Miss Winkle brought plants from the nursery where she volunteered tending the orchids. So you have this perspective of this Father Andrew. And the book is really good about hopping from POV to POV. So you get each of the POVs of everyone in the Flynn family. You have Father Andrew. You have other characters in the book. There's these side characters, Wes and Marshall. Wes being the ex-military guy in his 20s that Abigail is dating. But everyone is super interesting. And despite how unlikable and selfish, especially the Flynns are at the beginning of this book, you will end up liking all of the characters. So this was my book of the month pick last month. And I finished it on January 27th in my little planner. In my little planner here where I'm tracking reads, you can see right here I have Lost Lambs. Don't read the other stuff if you want to avoid being spoiled. The quote that I wrote down was, "Things only were the way they were because Harper had not been around to fix them." And I think that quote pretty much captures the gist of this novel. If any of the characters are the main character, it's going to be the 12-year-old Harper. Harper is very smart. She's gifted. She looks at the world through a very nuanced lens, and she's so intelligent and astute. Like, she's always observing her family. She knows everyone's secrets. She's very anti-conformity, which that is one of the things in the synopsis here, is because she's very skeptical of the town and very suspicious of things and constantly making a stink at school and in her personal life, she's sent away to be reformed. It's such an interesting novel. I can't say enough positive things about this book. This is going to end up being one of my top reads of the year, and it was just a fun read. Reading this book felt like a warm hug, and I laughed so much. Even the mystery and conflict of this book, I mean, it kept its hooks in me, and I was very invested in the story from the first page to the last page. Hopefully that gave you some clarity on whether this would be a good book for you or not. Hopefully you pick it up and read it. It's so good. This is why I love literary fiction, because a lot of times it just feels like so many different things. And I like that for my crazy brain. Let me know if you decide to pick this one up, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!